Last show, everybody. Last episode of The Altar. Been a wonderful journey these last almost 2 years, like 20 months. I'm gonna go turn that down. I'm gonna share this on my personal FB right post. Final episode of The Altar live. Join me, perhaps. Smiley face, post. All right, this is it. A minute till show begins. Okay. Dang it. Facebook comments aren't coming through. Oh, man. This was happening on Sunday, too. Okay. So, don't mind me. I got to figure out a few tech things while the countdown's finishing. How can I see Facebook comments? Oh, this is so sad. My final episode and the Facebook comments aren't coming through. Oh well. You know what? I can't fix everything in life. Overview. I can't fix everything in life. That's an understatement. Wait, I see Facebook comments now. All right, maybe it's fine. All right, 5 seconds. Here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? After almost 2 years of doing this Wednesday live show, actually, fun fact, originally it started on Thursday, I think. Gonna get into that here in a little bit. But after almost 2 years of doing this show, today's gonna be my final episode of The Altar. And I'll share a bit about why that is here in a minute. But basically, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are with me now here live or who might watch this later for being a part of this beautiful experiment with me these last 18 plus months. I've had a wonderful time getting to know you and getting to share this space and build this kind of community. And it's been a real gift. It's a bittersweet day for me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But just do me a favor and let me know if you're watching. I'd love to know who's here and where you're watching from. It's always a joy to know, to get this sense of who all is on the other side of this camera. All right, let's get into this here final episode number 69. 69 of these up, just like a good number to go out on, yeah? All right, welcome to The Altar. Yes, great God for you. It is 69 is the final episode. What's up with that? I don't know. Just the luck of the universe being on our side. Oh, this is so wonderful. Shane, love that you're here. Love that you've been here. Between you and Susan and Mercy, I mean, some of you have just been the people that I know I get to hang out with on Wednesdays. And I've loved it. So thank you. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Mercy, for being such an encourager and a supporter of the work that I do in the world and reminding me that it is good and holy work. Susan, gosh, what a gift. You were my first, I was going back and looking at the first episode, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And you were my first ever live stream viewer, and you've been with me literally from the beginning. Thank you. You are a friend, and I'm honored to know you. Yes, Stephen, this is my final episode. I announced that at the end of last week's episode, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. Hi, Brooke. Glad that you're here. So sad that it's the final episode. You'll see. Yep, I we're still doing Sojourn Grace. That's not going away. So we'll see you there for virtual church on Sunday mornings. Melissa, thank you. Mella, thank you. Thank you. Best to you and all you do, celebrating the altar and all that you create. Thanks, Mella. That means a lot to me. Gustavo, no tears. No tears. Well, you can have tears. Tears are fine. I don't mean to control anybody's bodily fluids. Tears are fine. Tears are lovely. Thank you for sharing. I just feel sad if this makes anyone sad that I'm leaving. But it all belongs. Mike, yes. I'm gonna miss parts of the show. I'll say more about that here in a minute. I'm gonna miss parts of the show as well. Hi, Vince. It's been good to have you here, bud. I appreciate that you have been a pretty regular part of the crew around here. Great God for you coming in from Memphis, Texas. I forget there's a Memphis in Texas. No, I don't want to mess with abandonment issues, Mercy. I'm so sorry. Oh, I don't want that either. Hey, Fred. Thanks for being another regular. Really appreciate it. I receive your hugs. Oh, Mike, never got to watch live. So, well, that's great. So glad that you could hang out with us today. What a fun, serendipitous thing to have. Yeah, tears at the altar is ending. I understand. Bittersweet, holding on to the hope of what's next. All right. Here's what I want to do for the next, I don't know how long this episode's going to be. They're usually about an hour. Although in the beginning days, they were like 12 minutes long, and I'll explain that here in a minute. I don't know that I'm going to go a full hour today. There's no guest today. It's just me, and I've got a few scenes here reflecting on kind of the evolution of the show. And, you're here with me, which is wonderful. So if there's anything that you have to ask about the show or ask, I don't know, this is kind of your last chance to catch me live in this format. So maybe we'll do a little bit of AMA, ask me anything. But really, yeah, I guess I'll start by kind of explaining or at least sharing sort of the why. Why is this the final episode? The short and quick answer is that I have kind of taken, like, this was an experiment. This began as an experiment. So back in August of 2020, we collectively as a society were hitting that point in the pandemic where like, oh, this thing's not going away. Like, we thought maybe this would be a 1 month, 2 month sort of ordeal. And April goes by and May goes by and the summertime hit. And we were like, oh man, this thing's not going anywhere. And around that time with my church, Sojourn Grace Collective, we had transitioned entirely to a live stream Sunday morning virtual church. And so that was one thing that was going on in my life, was Sunday morning live stream. Then in April of 2020, you might recall that let's see, how much of a leash do I have here? Not very much. Well, I can't reach it, but my second book, The Shift, released in April of 2020. And had to cancel my the tour that I had lined up to go and travel around the country to talk about it. And so I pivoted to a live stream event, like a live stream launch extravaganza. And in doing that, that's when I discovered this platform called Ecamm, which is what I used to stream this show and used to stream the Kate and Colby show and our church, Sojourn Grace. And I discovered Ecamm. And so in around like the summertime of 2020, when the pandemic wasn't going anywhere and we were all kind of quarantining at home, I started writing again more regularly for my blog, online presence, eventually migrated that over to the platform Substack. And I started writing regularly my weekly newsletter that I rebranded as Perspective Shift. And I had the thought, I'm like, what if I just turned the camera on and went live and just read perspective shift. And so I've got here's the first episode. Let's see if I can go to where it's at. Yeah. All right. So here's the first episode. Oh, I thought you'd be able to hear it, but you can't hear it, can you? Doesn't matter. You don't really need to hear it. Okay, but I can hear it, and that's obnoxious. Hush, Colby. So this was my first time ever going live, August 13th of 2020. And all I thought I'd do is I'm just going to throw the camera on and do like a public live reading of my article, of my weekly newsletter Perspective Shift. And at that time I just started a series that I was really excited about on the topic of hatred, inspired by Howard Thurman's chapter in his book, Jesus and the Disinherited. And I didn't have any idea who would show up. I didn't know I've never done this before. Let's just throw it on there and see what happens. And we were living in a different house at the time. And so I set the camera that I had and the lens that I had, and the lighting, y'all, it was comical. I've got this little thing here, how it started versus how it's going. Just kind of see the contrast of, you can see the original one at the top there. Terrible lighting. Also, I had a real bad eczema outbreak on my right eye. So I looked like a little more stoned than normally, which is 0 stoned %. and then, that was a stream from just last week. So obviously I've improved over the 18 months in terms of audio and video quality and skincare routine. But yeah, that first episode, it was just, let me just go on and read. And that was it. The episodes were 10, 15 minutes long, however long it took me to read through the article. And eventually as the weeks went on, people started to show up and join me, like you, Susan, for instance. And occasionally people would interact with what I had to say, but it was kind of just that. It was just a way for me to come online and sort of repurpose the content of my newsletter. Another way to kind of get some of my work out there. And so this is leading up to then sort of the bittersweetness as to why this is my final episode. Because as the years then went on and I was doing this show, let me just go back here for a second. One of the things that you might know about me already is that I'm a constant one who tweaks, not a tweaker, but one who tweaks and fiddles and is always seeking to make things better and improve and be the best, but then be better than last week. And so I really loved the pursuit of, as I mentioned earlier, improving the lighting and improving the camera and the look of the show. That was a lot of fun for me. The experiment of the last year and a half was a lot of fun for me. And it was a lot of work. It was self-imposed. Nobody was making me do this, right? This is just the entrepreneurial. I've got this idea. What if I started to do this thing? Oh, but then I can't just settle for this kind of thing. The quality needs to be I just need to keep ratcheting it up. And so part of why I'm winding this show down and why I'm retiring it right now is because in some ways, I think I've taken this format as far as it can go. I've sort of reached the end of the experiment of this thing. Okay, I think I have done what I set out to do with this in some ways. Now, I could still eternally be tweaking and upgrading and improving, but there's limited resources for that. And that brings me into the second. So the first reason why I'm retiring this show is because I've kind of taken it to its apex. I've done I've done all that I can think to do with this. That doesn't mean I'm out of ideas, and that doesn't mean that I necessarily wouldn't still enjoy continuing to do this, but there's the beginning germination of an idea, and then there's the working on it to kind of take it to as far as it maybe can go. But then the second reason and this is a little more just practically speaking, I need to make money. This show doesn't make me any money. In the beginning, I thought maybe there could be some way that this could generate some revenue. So one of the ways that I thought that might work is through building up the YouTube channel and building up my presence on YouTube and using the ad model within YouTube to generate some revenue for that. What I've learned is that's really freaking hard. And you don't really start generating any money, so to speak, until you have, like, I don't know what the threshold is, but hundreds of thousands of subscribers and hundreds of thousands of views. And I have, spent 2 years working on my YouTube channel, and I've grown it to a little over 2,000 subscribers, which is amazing. That's not nothing. Like, I love the community here, and I love the people that have shown up here. But real talk, like, I make about $20 a month from YouTube, from the ad revenue there. So the last few months, I've been staring at this creative outlet here, the altar, and I have been trying to really assess the ROI, which is jargon for return on investment. When I think about the time and the energy and the weekly output of my own energy and our family's resources to make this show happen, and then what the return is on it, like the real thing is it is not making any money. And I'm not saying it's the only reason why I do it is to make money, but I am saying I need to make money. My day job does not pay enough for us to live off of. So I have always had to figure out other side hustles, whether that's writing books and selling books, or making online courses and selling those, or officiating weddings, or doing side graphic design work and website design. I need to make money. And this avenue has been too much time and energy and effort. And I gave it a good shot. I feel like I gave it a good shot, but it's just not providing revenue. So I need to use these, I don't know how many hours this show uses in my week. On Wednesdays, it's usually a good 4 or 5 hours, and then you might add a couple other hours. So it's probably about 6 hours a week sort of get put into this show in terms of pre-production, production, and then post-production. And, so if it's 6 hours a week and I'm making, so that's, let's just say 20 hours a month and I'm making $20 a month, I'm getting paid $1 an hour. So that's kind of at the end, like I was in my kitchen a couple weeks ago and I'm like, all right, Colby, I think it's time. I think you need to start using your time and energy elsewhere, because this is not paying any bills. It's fun. I enjoy it, but it's a lot of work, and I'm not wealthy. I'm not independently wealthy to where I could just do things that are fun and like passion projects, or at least not as many as I have spinning right now. All right. So that is kind of the two-prong reason as to why I'm retiring the show. On one hand, I feel like I've taken it, like I've really done a lot of really cool things with it, and I feel really good about the work that I've done in the last 18 months. And I just need to start using my time in ways that hopefully can pay the bills and put food on our table and pay the ever increasing rent and gas prices and all that. So, all right, let me check in with you for a little bit. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. Vince, I'm not necessarily going anywhere, but I am not going to be doing the weekly live show. But I will be continuing to my weekly newsletter. I'll continue to write that, Perspective Shift. So you all know how to sign up for that, perspectiveshift.co. And I hope to I will. We'll continue to create YouTube videos, but it won't be the live show format. It won't be this. It won't be the altar. It'll be shorter, edited videos that continue to talk about the Bible and progressive Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. So I'll continue to sort of do that, because that's that's the work that I do in the world, and I love that work. But it won't be the live show anymore. Ecuador, thank you, Ruben. Thank you for this comment. Thank you for bringing light and love to those of us who are LGBTQ plus, who for years have been prohibited from approaching the Lord's Supper. I'm honored to do the work with and for you, Ruben. Oh yes, go Mercy. Kids need you. Thanks for at least being with me for the final episode. I appreciate that. Yes, Charlene, I need a new challenge, and like I said, I need something that pays bills. Steven says, as much as I enjoy your show and others like it, I've always thought the ROI must be crap. You're not wrong. Again, you have to be, I don't know what the threshold is, but like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and views. And like, once you get into that level, then yes, people actually make real money on this platform. But such a good name though. Thanks, Kay. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I support this sound decision making. I knew you would. Thanks. Great God for you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Julie. Julie says, I'm proud of you. Making choices surrounding our limited resources can be hard. Yes. But saying a no to this means a yes to something else. I hope so. I don't know what that is. I mean, I don't know what it is yet. Like I just know that I can't keep doing this. You know what I mean? Thanks, Odette. It's been so fun to have you here. You've also been a regular around these parts, and it means the world. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate that. Speaking of what I've made here. Wait, why is music playing? Oh, it's over here on this. Pause that. Speaking of what I've made, so let me here. I'm gonna do this if for no other reason than for my own sort of preserving a record of the thing that we've created together these last 18 months. So if at any point you're like, man, this feels indulgent. Look at all those Colby heads on the screen. I agree. But this is just, this is me sort of a time capsuling this for myself later on in life. All right. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of the evolution of how the show has gone. And you're welcome to hang out with me if you want, and you're welcome to take off. So in the early days, as I mentioned earlier, the show is called Perspective Shift. Why? Because that was the name of my weekly newsletter. And the whole point was to just share that content. And so I'd hop on here and read the newsletter, and that was about it. And occasionally interact with people if they were commenting or asking questions, but it wasn't much more interesting than that. And I was in the bedroom/office of our house before this one. And every week it was like setting up and tearing down, putting lights up and moving the furniture around and trying to make an interesting backdrop. And those are fun days. And then you can see there, the next one over there is experimenting with green screen. So then we started to build out the studio down in our garage space. And originally, because of the equipment that I had, we were doing a ton of green screen stuff. And so Kate and I, we started doing our podcast as a live show. And so we experimented with green screen, and I filmed all of my UnClobber courses with green screen. And so for a while there on Perspective Shift, I used different backgrounds for green screen and had fun with that, different kind of moving texture backgrounds. You can see that down there. So in the top right and the bottom left were both green screen backgrounds. And then in January 2021, I started to play around with segments that were beyond just reading Perspective Shift. So I'm like, okay, what if I did more than just read that week's article? And at that time I had, there were these videos online where I sat down with a non-affirming Bible dude, and we chatted about LGBTQ inclusion, and videos got a lot of attention on the YouTubes and a lot of comment section. And so I spent some time like interacting with some of those. But the point is I expanded the concept of Perspective Shift to just reading an article to then experimenting with using other, videos within videos and creating new segments that I could do throughout the show. And then you see there in the bottom right, the our garage before this one, as I started to play around with different backdrops, and you can see my Shire artwork made its appearance there, and surfboard was a regular staple in the backgrounds. So the show started to evolve both in its look and in its feel and in what I did. Then I got a brand new light. Look at that in the top left. So all of a sudden the lighting got a major upgrade as I got the key light. In technical jargon, the key light is your main light, which, by the way, it's a little darker today. Speaking of lighting, I don't have my fill light and I don't have my rim light. And the rim light's the one that kind of hits the top of the head and creates some separation. And the fill light is the one that kind of fills in. I took all those lights down for our church's worship night on Sunday night, and I just didn't have time this morning to reinstall them. So we're a little darker overall here this afternoon. Yeah, so I got a new light, and that just continues to, increase the production value, which I loved, but again, increased the money that went into the show. And after almost 2 years being like, I don't know if $20 a month is going to make a whole lot of sense moving forward. And then in April of 2021, so remember I mentioned that part of the advent or the origin story of this show was that I learned this new software because of the launch or the release of my book, The Shift. And so in April of 2021, I did, for the whole month, I did a year anniversary of The Shift. And I started to invite people to be guests on the show. And that was kind of the first time I experimented with that aspect of live stream, and invited different people like Britt Lively there. And then down in there in the bottom left corner, I was able to have 3 guests, Lauren, Tommy, and Mira, to come on and talk about shifting of faith. But it also allowed me to begin to not just diversify the voices and the people that were on this show, but it allowed me to begin to like showcase and highlight what other people were doing, so that it just isn't me all the time. Because I felt like one of the things, again, as I was sort of imagining what could this show do and become more than just, let me just share with you what I'm writing and what I'm thinking. I'm like, hey, what if I started to use this platform, literally this platform of YouTube and Facebook and Ecamm and live stream, to begin to highlight other people and their work. That's, for those of you who've been around long enough, you might remember the series that I did on privilege. And I think one of the ways that I try to use and leverage and steward the different privileges that I have is to make sure that other voices are elevated, other perspectives are given literal airtime on my show. And then in June of 2021, I did my Pride Month series, which was such a blast, so good. Each week that month to have a different voice from the queer community come on and share their perspective and their story. And I'm sad that I'm not doing that again this year. That'll be one of the times where I really miss the altar, is this June again, because I had some more ideas and more guests lined up for that. But it is what it is, as they say, and I hate that saying, but I said it. Karen's like, look at all the Colbys. I know, it's just too much. But here we are. Oh, Brooke says, thank you for your time and effort. Thank you, Brooke. That means a lot to me. Thank you, Shane, for affirming my choice as being a sensical choice. So then Karen helped me come up with a new name. So you can see in the top left there, I realized after a year of doing the show, it's kind of confusing to continue to call it Perspective Shift when that's the name of my Substack weekly newsletter. So I need to rename this live show. And I wanted to keep it in the wheelhouse of like the book, The Shift, and this idea of shifting and changing and evolving and growing and transforming. And so my friend Karen helped me, suggested the term The Altar, which has a fun religious play on words as well. Another thing that's worth noting is, you can see in the top left video, the bottom right corner, the altar logo and how it's different from that altar logo, which is different from perspective shift. Like I have been very loose, fast and loose with the branding and the colors and all of that of this show for 18 months. I kept changing things all the time. And again, that goes back to my constant like tweaking and meddling and trying to improve and make things always better and better and better. And so I never really fully settled on things. I'd like something for a couple weeks and then want to change it. And again, super fun, but also took a lot of time and energy. Like, I'm going to rebrand the show. Okay, well, there's hours more of that week being used for that. And then we moved houses. You can see there in the top right corner that the end of last year, we moved to this new house and started setting up this new studio down here in this garage. And got to have my buddy Greg Mason on that afternoon. And you can see there, like in the top right video there, where it's got the coming up, I really started to enjoy having like multiple segments on the show. In fact, again, just for, is it posterity? Is that the word I'm looking for? Like where you're trying to preserve something for future sake. Here's some of the segments, and this is going to be a bit of a mess because I don't know where all these bumpers are going to take me to, but like here's some of the segments that I started to create as the time went on, like this one. I will never give up my fight. Reason for Hope was a fun segment. I would share an inspiring tidbit of something like, hey, I know there's a lot that's like weighing us down in life, but hey, here's a really cool thing that happened that I want to share with you. That's called Reason for Hope. Then there was the classic viewer sound off. And this was my way to ask y'all a question and kind of like icebreaker, get the group going, getting your digis warmed up as you were getting ready to hang out. What's this? Oh, yeah. You must be blinded by the lights. In case you missed it, was my, like, I don't know, news moment of the day or news moment of the week, a chance to talk about something important that happened. The most recent one I did was my friend Matthew, his drag persona, Flamey Grant, was launching a Kickstarter, which at that time they had just reached their goal of $7,000, but then they went on to meet their stretch goal of $10,000. Thanks to some of you, by the way. Do you remember that? How y'all came on and helped out with that? Let's see, what's another bumper here? Yes, ask me anything. This was fun. I loved this segment because I have a folder in my inbox that just holds all the questions that come in from all the different sources, my website and Instagram and Facebook, and I just sort of drop them in there and I try to respond to people, when I have time and opportunity, but I can't get to everybody. But sometimes the questions are good enough, or they represent not good enough. They're always good questions. I just mean like they're a really good question, or they represent a question that I've gotten a lot. And so I will then, I've like taken the chance during the show to give a whole segment to responding to that question. So that's the Ask Me Anything. Oh yeah, altar calls. Remember those? The altar call was the original, like the play on the term the altar. And so this was like my end of show kind of as you go from here. Here's an invitation to kind of go and make a change, do something different. That was fun. Altar call. Clever people. This was cute. This little segment. Because sometimes we just got to laugh. I only did this segment a couple times. I wish I would have done it more. Oh, yeah. There's a Twitter account you can go follow. Conservative Self Owns. This one just cracked me up. Any English teacher who uses they, them as a singular pronoun should lose their teaching license. Still gets me. But that was a fun little segment. Any other segments that I would do? Oh, yeah, this one. The Progressive Christian Pastor Corner, the PC. That was fun because interesting to me to talk with other people who do similar work as I do. What's this? Happy 5-year anniversary. Yeah, I just went to that scene. I don't know. I didn't go through and line all these scenes up. This was just sort of in the moment, wanting to see all these bumpers and remind myself all the things I've done. Yeah, I think that's about it. Those are most of the segments that I've done. Where was I at? Yeah, evolution of the show. Came back on the air earlier this year, and then you can see there in the bottom right, my buddy Gaddison from a few weeks ago. This is part of the bittersweet component of ending the altar. Is it was so much fun to get to, because sometimes I would meet people through conversations on the altar, and then other times I would know these people, but then get to introduce them to folks for the first time. And I love that. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that. All right. In terms of any other posterity, again, I'm going to use that word a second time. I still don't know if it's the same. Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl says, I came in late. What's going on? But it looks like y'all took care of that. Thank you. This is Colby's last live show. And to answer your question, Cheryl, you have to go back and watch the first few minutes. But in short, the recap is, it's been a super fun experiment. I've taken it, I feel like, as far as it can go. I don't know how much more, I would want to do with it. But the sort of bigger reason is it takes up quite a bit of time in my week. And after trying for almost 2 years to have it be a source of revenue, ultimately it is not, and it has not been. So I need to use this time to find other ways to make money, because we need to make money. And that is the reality. So I can't give 6 hours of my week to this passion project. PCPC is PC's political correctness squared. Yeah, that's true, Ben. So that's funny. Hey, Mom, thanks. Thanks for the hearts. You were also one of my early guests because you had, it was like quarantine time, and you hung out with me every week, and that was fun. Oh, thanks, Steven. Use that talent and go make some bank. That is part of the hope here. And yes, Charlene, I did have so much fun. That is 100% true. Back on the screen here, this is like the long playlist of all the shows here. You can scroll all the way down to the beginning, although not really on YouTube, because in the beginning, you can see here, the playlist begins at episode 9. That's because when I first started, I was just streaming to Facebook. And then after doing that a couple weeks, I started streaming to multiple outlets, Facebook and YouTube. And I always prefer YouTube just because the quality, YouTube lets you stream in 1080p, whereas Facebook compresses it down to 720p. But Facebook is oftentimes where people are at, and so most of the comments come from there. Yeah, had some good times there. Some good shows, stuff I'm really proud of. You can see, though, in the beginning, like 20 minutes, 26 minutes, 16 minutes, 20 minutes, and now, every week's like an hour. Sounds like something I would do, just get longer and longer winded. I think I need to, so can you see me highlighting? Yeah, you can. I think I need to spend more time so earlier I talked about how, even though I'm not going to be doing the live show anymore, I'm still going to make videos and YouTube videos to continue to do this work. And I think I need to spend more time really trying to share with people, like, what is progressive Christianity and why is it maybe not as scary as so many people think it is. And even though most people in the Christian world refuse to acknowledge that I am a Christian, I still use that term. And so these were some really fun episodes here fun for me. But I did get some backlash on that because it's just really hard for some folks to accept. Oh yeah, Authority of the Bible series. That was a ton of fun. I feel like I didn't finish that. I think if I were to go back and look at that, I'd be like, I got almost to the end. And then I think I had a few more things I wanted to say that I never finished. Everybody Picks and Chooses. Oh, is this the one where yes, this is when Brad and you guys, who were any of you here when Brad talked? Brad came on the show. That was a lot of fun. I did this little, you can't hear the sound, can you? I thought I changed. Never mind. You don't need to hear the sound. It's fine. But that was a lot of fun. Those episodes where I had an imaginary conversation with a guy that I called Brad to illustrate that everybody picks and chooses when it comes to the Bible. Even you, Brad. That was fun. I think I brought Brad back. Oh, that was harder than I thought it'd be for another segment sometime down the road. Yeah, here's my shift series. Buddy Brandon, Britt, Josh Scott, he came on. This, if I recall correctly, this was the episode that had the largest, like in the moment live stream audience. I think a lot of people really liked Josh and wanted to come and listen to our conversation. I like that guy. He's a good human. 11 Things I Still Don't Understand. I liked those episodes, but I think they are less watched than others. It's always interesting to me to see which videos strike chords with people and get views and which ones don't. It's rarely what I think. I don't have a good predictor on what. I did a little series on my Instagram about the names that people call me: heretic, false prophet, wolf in sheep's clothing. And so I came on here. Junior Kabla. Junior, I don't know if you'll ever watch this again, but you were an interesting cat, man. You were one of my, for a while there, regular antagonists is a good word. It challenged me, sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a real obnoxious way. But there were a few of our interactions that I appreciated and a few that I maybe did not. But that's it's part of the thing about going live is you can't really control who shows up. Sometimes you get people that don't always share your values. That was a good one. I like that episode. Faith Shift. Oh yeah. And then here is the Pride series with Julie Rogers. Oh gosh, that book. I freaking loved that book. Her book, Out Love. Again, if you have not ever read her book, do yourself a favor and go read that book and check out Julie. She's fantastic. My buddy Justin, that was super fun convo. Oh yeah, I was rocking my Ecamm Pride hat back then. Coach Yema, just all-time fave, all-time. Just freaking love Yema. There she is. Yeah, she's wonderful. Yep. Then here's where I switched it to the altar. There's where I wore a tank top because it was just too hot. I do these shows in my garages and there's no insulation and it's warm. Yeah. That happened. So many different styles and aesthetics. I forget how often I would change things. Be like, all right, now what if I put it on an IMAX screen, or what if I just made it full screen, or like how it is now? What if it just takes up a sidebar over there? It's not the one I wanted to show. What is it? Doesn't matter. Where were we? again, this is probably super boring to most, but I don't even know if anybody's still watching, but a lot of this is because this is my final episode and I just want to preserve some of what we've done together the last 18 months. So this is, if nothing else, this is for me to come back and rewatch one day and be like, oh yeah, that's what I did. So it is totally indulgent and I'm only kind of sorry about that. I mean, look at all these different thumbnails. Like I just kept changing the look of everything. Good gravy. Which, I don't know, it's kind of cool in some way. I mean, when I did the series, that made sense. Like the Pride series had a look. The Faith Shift series had a look. So that makes sense to me. This was way back in the Perspective Shift days. Tried to keep a consistent thumbnail aesthetic going on there. And then I did the altar, had like this pink and blue vibe to it. This episode with my buddy John Steingard, the ex-lead singer of, what band was it? Hawk Nelson. I like that guy. And every time I had guests, I would, again, just keep playing with the different look and feel of it. So how about this pink and blue sort of moving background, and which I have right now, actually. So look, they kind of go together. One has lines, one has circles. Some more guests. I really did. I really enjoyed having guests. Katie Hayes. Katie is just on the short list of pastors that are doing it right. She's incredible. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I really did enjoy having guests on, but one thing I noticed about myself is I'm not a very good interviewer. Oh, this is pretty meta. I'm wearing the same t-shirt there as I am now. I'm not a very good interviewer. It's just not one of my strengths. I'm not a great conversationalist either. I think I'm a good interviewee. So like when I go on other people's shows and other people's podcasts, I think I do well in those contexts because people give me a question and then I can just riff and monologue on it for a bit. But I'm not a good interviewer or good conversationalist. So there was a part of me in deciding to wind this show down where I realized that takes a lot out of me. I loved booking guests and I loved the idea of having guests on. Like I said earlier, I loved introducing people to different people, but it just wasn't something that I got very good at. And, doing something for a year is not really enough time to really get good at a thing. But you got to understand, for someone like myself who identifies as a type 3, like if I'm not the best at a thing, I don't want to do the thing. I'm not saying this is a good way to approach life. I'm just saying this is how I've always approached life. And so part of it is like, I never really got very good at interviewing people. So that got to be a source of discomfort for me. Oh yeah, the episodes where I tried to interact with the conversations I had with Sean McDowell. This is what I mean when I say I might start doing more YouTube videos where I try to advocate for progressive Christianity, because there are some people out there that are straw-manning progressive Christianity like freaking everywhere, and it's driving me a bit nuts. So I might in the future do some like response type videos. I don't really know. Oh look, and then here the aesthetic changes again. We go from the thumbnails with like the blue diamond background to, hey, it's a new year, new look, February or 2022. So now the thumbnails look different again. Whatever. That's just how I roll, people. Okay. I like that. I like the preserving moment there of my year and a half of doing this show. I think that's it. I think I've done what I set out to do here in the final episode. Like I told you up at the top, it wasn't going to be not going to be the best episode ever, but we're here. Oh yeah, you remember? Yes, that was a great one with Justin, wasn't it? Oh, thank you, Crystal. Crystal says, thanks for sharing your talents and knowledge with us through the altar. Hope the new endeavors are fruitful for you and your family. I hope so as well. Thank you, Crystal. That means a lot. Ugh, yeah. The comment section in the video where I talked to that one pastor was just vile. I'm telling you, it's just comment sections are not a good place to go. I hear Brad attends Sojourn Grace now. Melissa, I kind of hope so. Brad needs a good church like Sojourn. I will, Cheryl. That's part of it. That's part of what I'm trying to part of what I'm trying to free up time in my week for is I really need to get into book number 3. I really need to get a proposal put together and start pitching that to publishers. And my weeks have just not had enough time in them in the last year or so. I've been doing other things and I don't regret it. I've been really enjoying these other things like this show, but it is time to move on to other endeavors. Oh, Susan, gong hit. That's something we do at our church to celebrate the things that people have done. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Brooke. Lots of time, lots of effort. I really did try to do something unique here and interesting and fun. Thanks, Melissa. Oh, proves how amazing. You're the best. Y'all are so great. I'm going to miss you. Brooke says, I think you were good at interviewing. Thank you, Brooke. I mean, I wasn't trying to fish for compliment, but thank you nonetheless. Like, I need to believe other people more about how they feel about me than I'm not a super reliable narrator of my own self. So thank you. I will listen to you. Oh, Susan, for sure. All of these episodes will live on in perpetuity. They're not going anywhere. So yeah, you bet. Thanks, Vince. Appreciate that. Love it. It's true, Charlene. Lots of ways. It's, I'm out there. Our church, Sojourn Grace, Kate and Colby show. We are ramping up efforts for that because that is something that has, there is some return on investment there because people have supported that show through Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Kate and Colby, which I'll throw this out there. If anybody is watching the altar and they want to say thanks for the work on the altar, in retrospect, you can leave a tip. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Kate and Colby. That's all one word. You know what? I'm just going to put it on the screen because you never know what people buymeacoffee.com. This is a fairly shameless plug here. I do have a little bit of shame in there. But if anyone wants to say retroactively, thanks for the work with this show. I never wanted to do that with this show, by the way. I don't know why. So like I said, I was hoping to have this show eventually be a source of revenue. One of the things I could have considered doing was inviting people to support the show like through this platform. And I never did. And maybe that was a misstep. Maybe that's a way that could have helped provide some ROI that would have made it feel like, okay, this is now a good use of my time. I guess I'll never know. But if people wanted to go to buymeacoffee.com/Kate and Colby, they could either do a one-time, like, here's buy X amount of coffees, they're like $5 each, or you can become a monthly supporter of the Kate and Colby show, or just sort of be like, this is for the work that Colby's done on the altar. But anyway, Kate and I, yes, Charlene, to your point, Kate and I are going to continue cranking out episodes of that. In fact, in April, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I'm going to. I had guests lined up for the altar in April, some really incredible guests that I pivoted when I realized I needed to retire the altar. And so now they're going to become guests on the Kate and Colby show, which isn't going to be live. It's going to be pre-recorded, but then on the Kate and Colby show, that'll become podcasts and those will become videos on our YouTube channel. So that's going to be really good guests coming up on that. So you can definitely easy to follow me on other platforms and be a part of my work. And please, if you don't already, subscribe to Perspective Shift. That's where a lot of my thoughts are going to be going these days. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks, Gustavo. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Shane. I'm going to miss seeing you every Wednesday, bud. Oh, Roger, this is fantastic. You changed my life and it turned to help others with what I've learned. Y'all, I wish there was just this stream of revenue that would allow this show to continue to, because it means so much to me and I know it's meant so much to others. And it really sucks that money is one of the things in life that just forces us to make really hard decisions. Okay. It's almost 3. I'm going to run the outro video one more time, which is an outdated version of the outro, but is one of those where I'm like, I'm not going to make a new one because it takes a lot of time. So that's it. I think I'm having a hard time ending this because it was a fun little, it was more than fun. It was fun, but it was more than that. It was deeply, deeply meaningful and life-changing. The way in which we can find connection with each other through a platform like this, the way in which we can be open to new ideas. Please, please continue to be open to new ideas. This is part of why I wanted to keep the name in the world of shift and change and alter and transformation, because I really think that's what life is all about. I really think it's a perspective shift. Like, let's never stay still. May we never think that we have arrived. So whether it's my work or somebody else's, maybe you'll evolve into someone else's or move on from me, and that's fine. But never stop growing, never stop asking questions, never stop being curious, never stop assuming that you don't have all the answers. Or wait, I don't know if I said that right. I'm getting flustered here because this is hard. It's hard to sign off and say goodbye, but I'm going to now. So I love you. Thank you one more time. And we'll see you around, okay? We'll see you around. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Brooke. Charlene, if you want to sing that, I will feel it from afar. And Vince, that's a great way to go out. All right. I love y'all. Be well.